Was it Kyle Shanahan, right or wrong?
I thought he was in the right. I mean, look.
Of course.
Well, I'm willing to take an L on Franklin. That's fine. I've had multiple people text me already, say I don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. But 4th and 1 at the 47-yard line, you have a chance to essentially just end the game. Like, you get that first down, the game's over. So I think Kyle Shanahan, being up by 2 scores, felt like, why not just try and end it now? I don't look at it as an ultra-aggressive move. I just think you're trying to end the football game. And your offense
I think you're right
should be able to get 1 yard. And they didn't.
Yeah, I didn't have a hugely strong opinion of that. It's a 1-score game. It's obviously probably a different decision. What I also have to put into the equation is that's kind of the way the NFL's going right now, right? That's becoming the more normal move as opposed to punting. Well, in a situation like that, I'll bet you in that situation up 13 points with that amount of time, I'll bet you most coaches are going for it there. What do you guys think?
I just think there's so much that needs to go wrong from that point on with 2:20 left for Tampa Bay to give themselves a chance to win that game, that the risk of not getting a yard is probably, like, the reward is greater than the downfall in that situation. Like,
right. It's
you also have a defense
low risk, high reward.
Yeah, and you should also have enough faith in your defense to be able to hold a 13-point lead, which they did.
Right. Here's Shanahan on Brock Purdy.
I think Brock's been great because he's been consistent through it all. I mean, we never felt anything different with Brock during those 3 losses. I think he's pretty realistic, so he doesn't get into stuff that's not that accurate. He doesn't really get into stuff that's not that accurate. He's talking about all the people that said Purdy wasn't playing well those 3 weeks.
Well, he wasn't.
What do you mean?
I mean, he didn't play well.
Well,
like, he might have played just like Brock Purdy played in 75% of those snaps, but in the 25%, he hurt them. And this is why, Steiny, I actually would push back against that statement, because yesterday, unlike Cleveland, unlike Minnesota, unlike even Jacksonville, or unlike Cincinnati as well, unlike the last 4 games, like, if you wanted to make a case that Brock Purdy put the ball in harm's way against Jacksonville early in that game, you could make that case. I don't know about you, and I don't know about fans out there. If they'd like to tell me I'm wrong, that's fine. I don't recall at one point, like one throw yesterday, feeling like that ball was put in harm's way. Before that, I could make the case that he did. Like, that Brock Purdy did put the ball in harm's way. That didn't matter because they won against Jacksonville. They blew him out.
What about this? Let me throw this at you.
I did sense a different Brock yesterday. Like,
did McCaffrey, towed the line. Of the 3 in those 3 losses, how many times did McCaffrey fumble?
In what? Well, sorry.
During the 3-game losing streak, did McCaffrey have a fumble in each of those games? Or 2 of 3 or 1 of 3? Because remember, he's had some fumble issues.
I don't remember if he fumbled against Cincy, but he did. I know he fumbled against Cleveland and Minnesota, right?
I think so. What I'm getting at is, it's interesting, and we're coming down on Purdy for turnovers, but maybe those McCaffrey fumbles were just as big a reason they didn't win. And I get it. Purdy's a quarterback, so he's going to hear it. But I want to say McCaffrey had some of his turnovers after being – I mean, that's – okay, so McCaffrey and Purdy basically emerged at the same time last year, essentially, right? McCaffrey was acquired, and then Purdy took over. Well, McCaffrey, you could make...
McCaffrey fumbled against Minnesota.
Okay.
Purdy fumbled against Cleveland.
Okay. How many fumbles does McCaffrey have this year?
He's got 3.
3.
Lost 2. He's had 3 overall.
Okay. Couldn't you make a case that ever since the middle of last season when the 49ers acquired McCaffrey and Purdy started, that both of them have essentially been perfect up until the 3-game losing streak?
Sure.
Like, what I'm saying is, you could put McCaffrey into that group, as great as he is. In other words, if you use the same criteria, yeah, Purdy's only been around for a year, and it's easy to say, ooh, we had 3 bad games. Well, guess what? McCaffrey might have had his 3 most suspect games as a Niner during that streak. He certainly didn't have his greatest games during that streak, right?
No, and it's interesting because
McCaffrey fumbled against the Browns.
Yeah, he did, but
okay. And then Purdy was against the Vikings. Purdy fumbled against the Vikings. Let's get it right.
I have his game log right here. It says McCaffrey had fumbled and lost it against the Minnesota Vikings, the Dallas Cowboys, and then did not lose one but fumbled against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, so Purdy fumbled against Cleveland.
Yes, that's what I said. Appreciate you trusting the text line over me. So it's interesting because you would never do the wins game with McCaffrey because he's a running back, right? And wins matter to quarterbacks. They don't matter to running backs. And this is where I think you got to be careful, Steiny, because it sounds like you're saying that McCaffrey is just as important as Brock Purdy.
I think he is.
If not more.
Well, I think they're both important. The overarching point I was trying to make is that since McCaffrey was acquired and since Purdy got into the starting lineup, both of those guys for the rest of the last year and a big chunk of this year have been phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah, he's been.
And all I'm saying is the past month or so, McCaffrey's had a couple fumbles and actually was limited in one of those games. What I'm saying is if I wanted to say, well, McCaffrey wasn't great in those 3 games either, I wouldn't be wrong. Right?
No, but again, we look at the running back position as, I think, being more dependent on others, how good the offensive line is, like Trent Williams being out of that game. Or, I hear what you're saying, and I do think that McCaffrey has not been as great, but McCaffrey also doesn't touch the ball every single play. And that's why when you asked me earlier, which person I think is more important to the 49ers, I think it has to be Brock Purdy.
Who's the 49ers team MVP right now?
Brock Purdy, in my opinion.
Spadone?
Go Christian McCaffrey.
John?
I'm going to go Brock Purdy.
Yeah, it's tough.
It is tough.
I'd probably go Purdy because he's a quarterback, but there's no doubt everything changed when McCaffrey got here too last year.
Yeah, and Jimmy Garoppolo was arguably the best version of himself with Christian McCaffrey. No, that's I don't. Yeah, and a lot of people are agreeing with you.
Jamie Young, CMC is the MVP. Michael Mills on the YouTube. CMC, easy call. See, I don't think it is an easy call.
I don't think it is either.
We can ask fans. 888-957-9570. Who's the 49ers MVP right now?
They can be co-MVPs.
VP. No. We don't do that here.
Why not?
Because we don't. Because I'm making the rules and we're not doing it. Drew Don't Care says Brock is the MVP easily. Michael Mills says CMC is the MVP. Easy call. See, we got something here.
And this has been the question that
Trent Williams.
Okay, so in yesterday's game, if the 49ers did not have Brock Purdy, do you think that they still win that game?
I do. Well, who's the quarterback?
I don't know.
Garoppolo?
Replacement level quarterback.
Seeing ghosts.
Garoppolo?
Okay, yeah, Jimmy G.
I think Garoppolo wins that game, too.
You think it's close?
Closer, maybe. Yeah, okay. I'll give you closer, for sure.
If Brock Purdy plays the same game that he did yesterday and Christian McCaffrey doesn't play, do you think the 49ers win that football game?
I do.
Do you think they win it by more?
If Purdy plays and McCaffrey doesn't?
How close do you think the result is yesterday to what the final score was if Christian McCaffrey doesn't play versus if Brock Purdy doesn't play? Because I think it's closer to 27-14 with Brock in and CMC out than CMC in and Brock Purdy out.
CMC in.
You see what I'm saying? I don't know.
I see what you're saying.
And that to me reveals who you think is more important. Christian McCaffrey is an incredible part of this offense. He might be more important than Brock, but that's how good he is.
Right.
But to me, Brock Purdy was, according to a stat, perfect yesterday. I just don't know how we can say that.
Well, here's what I would say.
That's because of the running back.
No. No, I hear what you're saying, but here's what I would say. If Brock Purdy, how do I want to put this? If Brock Purdy had a really good backup, well, I guess I'm not going to be able to explain what I want to say here.
Sure.
You have Garoppolo as a quarterback, and let's say Purdy's the backup. You didn't realize that going to the backup was not only not going to cost you anything, but you're going to get better. So what I'm getting at is if Garoppolo's the quarterback, then yeah, McCaffrey I think is more important. But I could see what you're saying because Purdy's better, that Purdy's more important because Purdy's reached a level where, he's capable of helping you win games to a greater degree than Garoppolo.
And I think that's also league-wide, too. Like, it's just the quarterback position based on the way the game is played and the modern offense. If you have a great quarterback, it's more important than having a great running back. That doesn't make running backs unimportant, but there's a reason why the running back position is the only one in the last, I think, half decade whose salary has declined on average.
Right.
Quarterbacks are through the roof. Like you guys have been talking about how Brock Purdy might be worth this or might be worth that or what level is he playing at, monetarily speaking. That's why those conversations happen, and that's why to me, whether McCaffrey's incredible and he's very important to this offense, I just think Brock Purdy is a little bit more.
We've got 2 more votes for team MVP other than Purdy and other than McCaffrey.
Uh-oh.
Can you guess? Who would be the 2 other ones that I've seen on the text line?
The other 2 MVPs?
Yes.
Team
MVPs.
Oh. Fred Warner.
That's one.
Brandon Ayuk.
Trent Williams.
That's
on principle, he's not.
Where's
you got to play.
on that list?
You got to play. You can't be hurt.
0-2 without him. There you go.